I'd like to introduce our first storyteller of the evening, Mira Dessy. You may know her as the nutrition lady, but I promise you she is much, much more than that. Let's give Mira a warm welcome.
So my first story is about children, and we just love them, don't we? And they choose so many interesting ways to get into trouble. Sorry, that's a little too, there we go. They choose so many interesting ways to get into trouble. And, and this story is not mine. It was written by a man named Edward Gorey. And it's an alphabet. A is for Amy, who fell down the stairs. B is for Basil, assaulted by bears. C is for Clara, who wasted away. D is for Desmond, kicked out of the sleigh. E is for Edmund, who choked on a peach. F is for Fanny, dry by a leech. G is for George, smothered under a rug. H is for Hector, done in by a thug. I is for Ida, who drowned in the lake. K, J is for James, who took lie by mistake. K is for Kate, who was hit with an axe. L is for Leo, who swallowed some tacks. M is for Maud, drifted out to sea. N is for Neville, who died of ennui. O is for Olive, run through with an awl. P is for Prue, trampled flat in a brawl. Q is for Quentin, who sank in a mire. R is for Rhoda, consumed by a fire. S is for Susan, who perished of fits. T is for Titus, who flew into bits. U is for Una, who slipped down the drain. V is for Victor, squashed under a train. W is for Wanda, embedded in ice. X is for Xerxes, devoured by mice. Y is for Yorick, whose head was bashed in. And Z is for Zilla, who drank too much gin. So this second story has a number of people in this room to thank for it, starting with Kate, who has heard me tell stories several times and at one point said, "You need to tell your own stories." It's much easier to tell other people's stories, but I do tell some of my own. And then I would like to thank Hallie and John, who are in this room. We are part of a writers group called the Northwoods Essayists, the Right People. And we have just published a book, which is going to be available at our book launch party on June 3rd. So I hope you'll all come. And this story is not in that book, so you'll have to come to get more stories. So before I start this story, how many people in the room are married? Oh, most of you. How many people in the room got a honeymoon? Most of you again. So I never got a honeymoon. I've been married for 38 years. And when I got married, it was on February 2nd, Groundhog's Day. He's like our little mascot, Puxatawny Phil. And it was a cold, snowy Connecticut afternoon. The minister almost didn't make it because the weather was so bad. We got married on a Saturday. And on Sunday, we had to leave and drive down to Quantico so that my new husband could report in to the Marine Corps. And we drove separate cars, and we kissed at rest stops and gas stations along the way. Very sweet, but not a honeymoon. And then the Marine Corps, of course, kept us very busy because he was out on missions or in training. And then, weirdly enough, we just started having babies. And that just kind of does something to your ability to go away on any kind of a vacation, much less a honeymoon. So fast forward 30 years. And one day I look at my husband and I say, hey, you know what? The kids are gone. And although you travel a lot for work, you do have times when we can run away together. I think we should have a honeymoon. Now, I should back up and tell you that when we first got married, my idea of a honeymoon, I wanted to run away to Niagara Falls and rent one of those cute little cottages on the Canadian side of the border and just enjoy that. That would have been a better option for him, because he said, oh, sweetie, what do you want for a honeymoon? And I said, I would like to go on a cruise to Australia. I figure 30 years plus interest. So we picked a cruise of Australia and New Zealand. I was so excited. I packed my Hobbit ears from the Renaissance Festival because we were going to Hobbiton. And I was going to get one of those cute pictures in a little Hobbit window with my ears showing. I even bought the honeymoon package for $250. And he said, what's this charge? And I said, it's the honeymoon package. He said, you can't say it's a honeymoon package. I'm like, well, this is my honeymoon. I want that bottle of champagne, those strawberries, the cake, and the fancy restaurant dinner. So we flew to Australia. The journey happens to be long enough, by the way, that you can watch all 3 Lord of the Rings movies on the way over. And we went a couple of days early so we could explore Sydney a little bit, time zone adjust, and then we got on our ship. And sure enough, there in our room was an iced bottle of champagne and a tray of chocolate-covered strawberries with a cute little card signed by our room steward and the captain wishing us a happy honeymoon. I thought this was great, so exciting. So our first port of call was Melbourne. And we got there the next day, we did a little bit of sightseeing, we get back on the ship and we head out. And we are supposed to go to New Zealand, and we're going, most of the trip is New Zealand. We wake up the next morning to discover that 150 nautical miles out, the ship broke down in the middle of the Tasman Sea. It had power, but no propulsion. So we sat there for 24 hours while we waited for a tugboat to show up. And Australians have a very weird sense of humor, because as the tug pulled alongside us, with everybody on the ship, by the way, on one side, peering down to see where this boat was, one of the crew members went, because it was going to cost a lot of money for us to be towed back to shore. It took 24 hours to go back to shore. And then we spent 2 days there while they fixed the ship. At which point the captain announced that we had missed every single port of call and there was no way they could make up the time, so we were going to go at half speed to Auckland, New Zealand, 5 days at sea. And they gave us a refund. I will say their idea of a refund and my idea of a refund are 2 very different things, because they charged us tax and fees and all the expenses. However, we did get some money back. And we made some new friends while we were on the ship, because we were all combined together. And we decided with our new friends that we were going to go out again. We were going to take another trip. So a year later, we planned a 14-day Caribbean extravaganza. We were going to hit so many of the islands, have a wonderful time, and we put down an extra $250 in cruise credit, and guess who bought the honeymoon package? because I wanted that honeymoon experience again. I even called the cruise line and I cried and I said, you know what happened last time I tried to take a honeymoon? And the woman said, I'm so sorry for you, but I cannot comp you that honeymoon package. You'll have to pay again. So I did. And shortly before we were supposed to leave for our port of departure, Puerto Rico, not one, but 2 hurricanes slammed into the island. So guess who didn't get a cruise? So now we had a lot of money in cruise credit. And we decided we were done with cruising for a while. And time went by, and time went by. And one day, I talked to my husband, I said, really, we should try to take that cruise. Like, this is first of all, an adventure that we paid for, and secondly, it's my honeymoon. And he said, okay, what do you want to do? And we decided we wanted to take a transatlantic cruise. And I should say, my husband is not a huge fan of cruise ships. He doesn't like the at-sea part. He likes the new destination every night, but several days in a row at sea just is a little stir-crazy for him. And a transatlantic cruise, they front-load all of the at-sea days. But it was a 14-day cruise with 11 stops. So he was, because some of them were, I guess, partial stops, like you arrive in the morning and then you leave in the afternoon and go somewhere else. So we were getting a lot of stops. So we called Carson, because by now I'm on a first name basis with my cruise planner. And I said, hey, Carson, I had a honeymoon cruise credit. He said, oh no, that got converted to future cruise credit. That's not a honeymoon package. I said, do you mean to tell me I have to buy that honeymoon package again? And he said, I'm really sorry, but you do, I can't. And I told him my long, sad tale of woe and being stranded in the middle of the sea and hurricane adventures. And he said, I'm really sorry, but I'm not allowed to give you that. You'll have to buy the honeymoon package. And I said, okay. And my husband said, what's this $250 charge on our credit card? And I told him, and he just sort of looked at me. And he said, it's a good thing I like you. So we started packing our bags, and I was going to be really smart about it this time. I went and I bought all kinds of interesting things, like they sell little laundry soaps that you can use in the bathroom in a cruise line, and they sell clotheslines that you can hang up, and all kinds of extra things. I must have bought probably $100 worth of added things to make our cruise more comfortable. And 10 days before the cruise was supposed to depart from New York, we received an email that said, due to a global pandemic, we have canceled all cruises. And I looked at my husband and I said, the only thing left is an asteroid hitting the Earth. I don't think I'm ready to risk it. So I never got a honeymoon.